What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy, the Hater. And I want to put this on the record. So if this idea is ever stolen or more likely independently arrived at by other people, that I said it first. One thing we haven't seen. We have seen random ass black people stables, right? Like the Pride. Like fucking the Nation of Domination, which actually wasn't random at all. It was awesome. But we've seen this, like the New Day, for no reason, right? They're all friends because they're black, I guess. That's the messaging that WWE wants to put forward, right? It's almost as if blacks and whites cannot be friends, which is ridiculous because in the real world, that's just not how it works. People, like, I have plenty of friends. All my friends, basically, are of different races. I got some white friends, too, but the majority of them are not white, right? I would say. With that being said, the idea here is exactly what I just said. Cuckolds. We need to reestablish some rules and some guidelines in the context of stables. We will piggyback off of the Bloodline, which did a Samoan Islander now gimmick, right? But in WWE, for the first time ever, you have a considerable amount of African wrestlers, right? I'm using the word African loosely, right? Like Kofi Kingston is African, but he's not presented as an African, really. He's presented just like as a regular guy. Like him and Xavier Woods are presented the same way, right? They're not like, it's not like Kofi is the African member of New Day. He's just a member of New Day, right? It's not like, for example, if Prince Nana was put in the New Day, he would be the African member of New Day. If Prince Nana was put anywhere, he'd be the African member of that group, right? But now we have a considerable amount of African wrestlers, and we are in luck. Some of these guys are actually pretty good, and we're even bigger luck. A lot of these guys are underutilized. So, I suggest that WWE offers Prince Nana a considerable raise, meaning they offer to pay him $100 instead of $80 per appearance, which is probably what AEW pays him, and they poach his ass and put him in NXT. Then it all falls into place. Prince Nana comes out and he says, I now manage Obafemi. This is how it's going to be, right? The North American title is now called the African title. Fuck it. Why the hell not, right? Then you have Obafemi start crushing everybody like he's been doing. But now it's with a purpose. He wants Africa to be represented in wrestling because there's not that many Africans, and it's not even like a heel gimmick. It's just a gimmick, right? Then you turn them heel because everybody knows there's more money in heels. Then what happens is this. They have some sort of match, right? Where, what's it called? Obafemi decides that he wants like the Heritage Cup or whatever, right? And he just crushes anybody. This prompts Noam Dar to challenge him, which would be ridiculous. Then, all of a sudden, Oro Mensah turns. And Oro Mensah says that he is Swiss and Ghanaian. And he feels the draw to Prince Nana, who I believe might also be from Ghana. Prince Nana from Ghana, right? And he feels a draw to these guys, right? So he betrays the metaphor, maybe forcefully, maybe not. Now you have two guys. Oro Mensah brings a lot to the table. Unlike Obafemi, Oro Mensah is very aesthetically pleasing. He's got a great physique and he's a very good looking guy, if I do say so myself, right? So he can be the face. He can be the guy that gets the rub for all I care. Then you move them to SmackDown. Then, on SmackDown, you have Apollo Crews betray Baron Corbin, and finally, we get the Apollo Crews push that I've been trying to get for a long time. Then after this, if there's room, which I don't think there is, I think this is good enough, you get Omos. But Omos, you don't need him. He's just only going to take away from Obafemi, who is obviously going to be the leader of this group, right? Then you get Kofi Kingston. He betrays Xavier Woods, but not for those jobbers, but because he wants to be with his African group now, right? Now I know what you're thinking. Hater, isn't this a racially based group? Yes, it is. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We have the LWO, don't we? We got the Bloodline. Why wouldn't the Africans want to have dominance? The same way the Latinos do and the Bloodline does, right? Then you can have them feud with whomever. And under this circumstance, if this group becomes the force that I suspect it would become, because you have an incredible level of talent, it's actually a group of people that have potential. In Oro Mensah, obviously in Apollo Crews, and Kofi Kingston's resume speaks for itself. Kofi Kingston is one of the most decorated wrestlers of all time, and they can leverage that. And then Obafemi can be their young guy, their leader, and the stable is built around him. Under this pretense, Obafemi can become a massive star. That's not what's going to happen, of course, but that's the way to make him a star. You're never going to make him a star by being this force, by being this Omas. You're going to make him into an Omas by having him be an Omas, right? It's inevitable. He's going to be teaming with like Pete Dunne or some shit in like a wacky tag team, just like Omas and AJ were, you know? So my philosophy, look at that. Look how many problems I've solved for the WWE, right? Xavier Woods can go out and do his thing, probably be a jobber. Kofi Kingston can do something meaningful in the tail end of his career, putting people over massively. And then Apollo Crews finally gets a shot. Oro Mensah's going nowhere, so you might as well put him in there. And then Obafemi. And then, I don't know if Edris Enofe and the other guy are from Africa, but if they are, you put them in there as the tag team. Otherwise, the tag team's going to have to be like Kofi and Apollo or something, right? You put them in there. You create this group of Africans, right? And managed by Prince Nana, or if you can't get Prince Nana, find another Prince Nana. You know? That's the way forward for a lot of wrestlers. And a lot of these people can get a massive rub. Inevitably, one of them is going to turn face or whatever, and that person can get a huge push. That's what we need. They can even wrestle against, how great would it be if their gimmick was that they go after African Americans who in their opinion, have done nothing with opportunities they've been given, right? That's how they start out. They start out destroying like the Street Profits and all the other black wrestlers that make goofs out of themselves, right? This is like a serious stable, you know? A stable that says, hey, we don't like how you portray black people as goofs. No longer, right? Basically a nation of domination, but without any racism or racial undertones, right? Because that's already been done. That'd be cool too, but that's already been done. And basically they can say, you know, we have all these wrestlers from Europe getting opportunities. We have wrestlers from Canada getting opportunities. We have wrestlers from the United States getting opportunities. And worst of all, we've got Latinos and Asians who don't even speak English getting opportunities. That should be their gimmick. I've just created the next big faction in this video, cuckolds. I just did it by myself. How am I not hired yet by WWE? Because instead, they think that the metaphor is a good idea. Oh, Noam Dar is going to have an eccentric jobber gimmick, and he's going to be surrounded by 3 other eccentric jobbers. Yeah, that's going to put butts in seats. Oh, I know what we can do. Charlie Dempsey and the Riley Brees or whatever his name is, that guy, those 2 guys are going to hold down the other one, whatever, Tavion, whatever his name is. That guy who's like fucking amazing, they're going to hold this jobber down or in a Blackpool Combat Club deviation. That's going to work. That's going to put asses in seats. Chase U has not drawn 1 dime, motherfucks. My faction would sell out Madison Square Garden. My faction would do what all of you jobbers want, and that is make Obafemi a legitimate star. And it would finally raise the profile of underused wrestlers who, strangely and by coincidence, have a lot to offer. Like, if you don't think Oro Mensah has more to offer than everyone that I just mentioned, including Noam Dar, including the rest of the metaphor, including the No Quarter Catch crew, including like Chase U, including Pretty Deadly, including fucking Butch, Pete Dunne, including Axiom and the other guy, then you don't know what you're talking about. How are you going to put this guy forward? You're going to have him be a smiling idiot? Oh, I'm happy to be here. Yeah, then he's going to be the next Sami Zayn at best. And more likely than not, he's going to be the next Johnny Gargano. And you can't let that happen. You cannot let that happen, motherfucks. You got to take your stars and you have to make them into stars. They will not become stars by themselves. Johnny Gargano will never be a star without proper booking. But as we've established on this channel many times, everyone has the potential to be a star with booking. Now, in no circumstance am I saying that this is going to be this stable that leads to like Obafemi becoming the next John Cena. That's not going to happen, right? He's not going to be the next Brock Lesnar. He's not going to be the next even Lashley. But he can be a solid guy that gets an opportunity here and there, and he might be able to eke out 1 or even several title wins, right? That would be awesome. That would get people interested. Nobody cared about any of this bullshit. Instead, and here's why I know this gimmick would work. The Hurt Business worked. And the Hurt Business is basically just 4 guys who happen to be black, so therefore they have to be friends, or 5 guys. I don't know, was it 4 guys or 5 guys? 4 guys, right? Because MVP didn't wrestle, but it was just, 4 guys who wanted to wrestle, and they're just guys in suits. It's basically Evolution, but they're black. And people are like, I can't believe they stopped it. Yeah, they stopped it because they have no goal. They have no purpose. They have no raison d'etre. But this African faction, which I don't know what you would call them, the African Connection, that's just too lame. You have to think of something clever, of course, right? I don't know. But the point, African assault, that'd be something stupid. But like, you know, this would have the potential to do what people thought the fucking Hurt Business would do. The Hurt Business is just, it's a mid-card faction. Like Lashley was able to persevere, but it's not this like faction with a purpose. They're like closer to Retribution than they are to my faction. They're closer to Retribution than they are to the Bloodline. But my African faction is better than the Bloodline because aside from Roman Reigns, who's obviously better than everyone that I just mentioned, like everyone in my faction is better than everyone in the Bloodline aside from Roman Reigns. Like, I mean, I know people think that Jacob Fatu is a big deal, but I think anybody that knows anything knows that Apollo Crews is better than Jacob Fatu, you know? And Ora Mensah is probably better too. So you have these things, and it's okay for one of them to be a jobber, right? But think about that. Like, Oba Femi surrounded by these 3 other African guys who are also, like, smaller than him, right? He towers over them. He feels like the leader. And you have the mouthpiece in Prince Nana because he's, you know, the only reason you'd need him, because you could just have Kofi cut the promos, or maybe Ora Mensah, right? You could have somebody cut the promos. But you would get Prince Nana only because, number one, he fits very well into this into the stable that I've invented, but also you would get him because he's proven that he can put people over. And that's what you need here. So with that being said, Cucks, this is now probably my favorite video of all time. So take care of yourselves. Cuckolds!